What things have you seen that you can't logically explain? There used to be an annoying cat in our neighborhood. I once dreamt about this cat crying from inside a pit. I could vividly hear its meow, and then I woke up with a sore throat at like 4 a.m. Later at like 10 a.m. or so, there were a lot of people in my neighborhood trying to rescue a cat that had fallen into the neighbor's well. I was shook when I saw the exact same cat I saw in my dream inside the well. It was saved afterwards. It may not be a big unbelievable thing, but like there is no way I would hear its meow since our houses are a bit apart. I was at my friend's place and we was about to leave to go to a shop. The shop is like a 100 m away from my friend's place, so like a 30 sec walk. Before we left, my friend told his dad goodbye. When we almost arrived to the shop, about 20 m, my friend's dad was literally standing next to the shop. It was like 5 years ago, but I still don't know how his there got there that fast. Edit. My friend's dad didn't have a car at that time. I saw a blue orb one time about 16 years ago. I was driving home on a rural highway at 10 p.m. I thought I saw police lights up way ahead on the highway, but as I got closer I figured it was just some lunatic in the field with a blue flashlight. Turns out, it was just an orb about the size of a softball. It was floating around almost aimlessly. I slowed down to watch it. After a few seconds, it made a quick spiral and shot straight up in the air out of sight. The next morning I was driving on the same highway to get to work, and the entire field was scorched in the area where I saw the orb. Nobody believed me except for one friend who claimed he had seen them too. He had a cruddy flip phone video of orbs flying around in a field near his house. I have a memory. It is not a dream, it's a memory. I was super drunk and toying around on a balcony 30 stories high. I fell. I'm still here. My fiancée from the time remembers it too, but we rarely speak of it. There was this one time it was super late at night, maybe 4 or 5 a.m., and I walked through my doorway and then I turned around and the door was closed. Like I had just phased through my door. Freaky stuff. During a strong thunder and lightning storm one night, I was in the cathedral by myself practicing the pipe organ for a forthcoming recital. The cathedral was in total darkness, except for the one small light on the console's music rack. During intense lightning flashes, the biblical figures in the stained glass windows seemed to step forward from the glass and be suspended in the darkness of the vast Gothic space. First of all, sorry if I made some mistakes, I'm not a native English speaker. It happened when I was 7 or 8. To give a little bit of context, I've always had a huge fear of darkness, to the point where I couldn't sleep alone or cried whenever I had to be in a dark place. I think this was pretty normal, every child goes through that. My mother, tired of having to wake up every night only to sleep with me, gave me a flashlight, so I could prove to myself that there wasn't any monsters in my room. Some months later I woke up at 3 a.m, I know because I used to have a clock next to my bed, and I wanted to check if everything was okay in my room. Then I pointed at the door with the flashlight and I saw a woman. She was very old, with short, white hair and a white dress too. She was ugly, her skin was almost gray. I screamed, obviously, but didn't think about it afterwards. I don't live with my grandma and my mother by that time was young with brown hair, so I've never understood that. I was driving to a running workout at 4:30 a.m. and in past the high school stadium near my house. There was a football game being played with a stadium full of fans. It made no sense at all, I kinda wonder if I was hallucinating. To this day I don't know why that was happening then. It happened very recently, a bird kept followed me from tree to tree and made a weird screeching noise. It almost felt like he was trying to tell something and it was eerie rather than fascinating. I was in the hospital coming off Risperdal. I swear to God there were bodies in the ceiling that were going to fall on me. It was so horrid. I was ducking as I was walking because I did not want them to hit me. Later it made me wonder why scary movie lovers do not use antipsychotics recreation ally. It would add a whole new level of scary. Take antipsychotics all October then the day before Halloween stop. And have the rebound psychosis while watching scary movies. I was at a swimming pool, doing what you might expect, but as I was about to resurface, I took a big breath in, no water or anything. I got a lung full of oxygen while completely submerged. Frog rain. I've been in it. I have a really hard time imagining the frogs getting picked up and surviving. I mean, it would have to be a tornado basically. And then that same pocket of frog air stays together and shows up in a completely different place. It's just fucking bizarre. I always see these birds that fly right in front of my face, but they're no real because they disappear very quickly. Once I was moving with my mom. And when I looked out that car windows 4 lights in the sky were moving in a circle. And following our car. When I was on a car trip with my dad, he made a stop to sleep a bit in the car. I woke up and probably played something with my iPad. I look outside the window and see a lion. This was in Germany for your information. I still by this day would like to know if this was true and there really was a lion or if I was having hallucinations or something. Aha. My bi-weekly dose of Reddit horror stories. Must come back in a few hours when it's midnight or maybe 3 a.m. Not sleeping today and tomorrow. I was walking down the street toward my campus and felt something hit me in the back. I turned around and saw a completely empty street. To this day, I can't explain what or who hit me. About 15 years ago I was watching TV in my living room when a ball of light about the size of a baseball floated above the TV for a couple seconds, then moved about 2 feet and disappeared. Only thing I could think of was ball lightning maybe, but it wasn't storming and I don't even know what that would look like. Hunting my father's 80 acres several years ago, I was sitting in the snow deer hunting when I heard the unmistakable sound of someone or something walking through the snow towards me. After several minutes the sound just stopped, and when the sun finally came up and I was able to hunt it down, I found a pair of boot prints that lead to nowhere. I was once walking home from my school. At like 3 p.m. in the afternoon I was on a road with no people around in my residential area. Straight up ahead about 2 km or so there was a mall, and I saw a silhouette on the roof of the mall, and there's nothing wrong with it except for the fact that it was stupidly large. I saw it and thought it can't look that big from such a large distance, measured how big it looked in comparison to my thumb held at the arm's distance, and then thought maybe it does look that big, and I am just confused, thinking everything was normal. I start to look down, and then in the middle of me in the mall about a km ahead I saw a man, no silhouette, a man with all his features visible, and he was way shorter than the silhouette over the roof. I looked back and it walked out of my view and was blocked by another building. It made no sense for the silhouette to look that large. It had to be at least 12 foot tall, and the crazier part is that the sun was behind me and no way it should have been a silhouette. The only logical explanation is that I was hallucinating because of lack of sleep, but something like that has never happened to me. The Ouija board. I get that it's the ideomotor effect, but I don't understand the ideomotor effect. How can you be subconsciously creating a story about a person, without realizing it? Especially if you are working with other people to do it? I don't believe there are ghosts. I even turned the board around with the participants blindfolded, and, as expected, the ghost could not spell anything anymore. Some computer bugs. Watching someone's IG story of them being out at 3/4 am and then another at 7 doing something else. How are you functioning with 3 hours of sleep? Politicians openly breaking laws, rules, and spinning falsehoods that have no basis, still cultivating mass cult followings and allowed to continue being a public figure. I feel like we are in the twilight zone. The 2016 election. Trump getting elected. The world just running past the point of stopping warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius. Saw something in the night sky that I can only say was not of this world. I am not a huge believer in aliens or whatever, but this thing was not normal. The size and the technology was not possible. I saw it with 2 other people. I asked one about it, and she almost forgot about that night until I reminded her. The GME/AMC/Shiv Gold Rush. Watching a young dog run around in a home and bark at something in the middle of the room. Suddenly it looked like it had been attacked and yelped and cowered away. Then ran away to a bedroom and didn't come back in. When I saged my house, getting rid of spirits in my home, for those who don't know. My little brother was claiming he saw floating faces, a deformed one, and was scared. Me, knowing it would soothe his worries, saged the house in order to get rid of the spirit. Probably a few weeks later, we were at my grandparents' house going through pictures. Little brother starts crying at one picture. It was of our great-grandpa, or something, and he had a cleft lip. They didn't have corrective surgery back then, so his face was pretty deformed. Turns out, that's the head my brother saw. And he had never seen his picture before. Still kinda spooks me out. My girlfriend leaving me. 40% of people in a country worshipping a sleazebag. Trump. Lived in NYC in the 90s and he was considered a joke. WTF America? I was looking out my bedroom window one night. I was like 6, and I was looking at the stars. I loved stars, still do, but there were these 2 that just caught my attention somehow. After a while I saw them slowly move closer together. I looked away for a minute cause I wasn't a stupid kid, but they were still slowly getting closer. Then they stopped and started blinking to each other. I remember them taking turns, like a conversation. Then they just stopped. Never forgot, and never saw it again.